Meanwhile, shares of Boeing ended down nearly 2% today after that 737 Ukrainian airline jet crash in Tehran, killing 176 people on board, everyone on board. This just hours after the Iranian missile attack targeting bases in Iraq. Iran is reportedly refusing to hand over the plane's black boxes or let the U.S. get involved in the investigation. Airline officials say the pilots are very experienced and the plane had been serviced just days ago. Ukrainian Airlines has never had a fatal crash in its 28-year history. Ukraine is now calling for a ban on flights over Iran, but not flights on Boeing airplanes. Here now is commercial pilot and investigations analyst Anthony Roman. Anthony, there are reports now that this could have been caused by a technical malfunction. What do you believe? It couldn't be terrorism, could it? Would they kill their airline like that? Knock down an airline like that? Doesn't seem plausible.
Well, I have to tell you, the debris field is rather unusual for a mechanical failure. That is a very diverse debris field. And its basic signature is that this was a very high-speed impact or the aircraft came apart in midair. When you see debris scattered around a field like that, it does create some concern. Missiles were flying in that area at that time. I do not believe that can be ruled out, but I'm sure the intelligence communities, both in the United States and allied countries, likely have that information already.
I just don't know what is the worst explanation here. I mean, because both explanations are so terrible. One is, as you just speculated, that this is Iranian terrorism. But if it's not, and it's another Boeing malfunction, that's, you know, the worst possible news for this airline. So, I mean, how do you see it at this point?
Well, it's way too early to say what the exact cause is. We look at what minuscule evidence is present right now and what information is provided to us. I have concerns about that debris field. I know the 737-800 is an extremely safe aircraft with incredible redundant systems. It is not similar to the 737 MAX in terms of its computer design and has none of those problematic issues of the MCAS system. So time will tell in this particular case, but I think all avenues have to be considered at this point.
If I were to just chime in, I'm finding it very difficult to understand how a plane that was checked 2 days prior, the model is a 2016, it was in the air at 6:12 a.m., flew for 2 minutes, then the transmission cuts, flew for another few minutes, and then completely blew up. And the Ukrainian Airlines is saying that these pilots were extremely, they've had over 7,000 to 12,000 hours of experience of flying. So we shouldn't speculate, but doesn't something seem a little bit off?
Well, I'm concerned about the lack of information coming out of Iran. I understand there's tensions between the United States, extreme tensions between the United States and Iran right now, but this is a civil accident, purportedly a civil accident, and therefore information should be forthcoming so that the root cause of this accident can be determined. Experienced pilots do lose control of aircraft. Experienced pilots can lose an aircraft. It doesn't happen all that often, particularly with the 737-800. It is a very sound model with redundant systems.
Anthony, this is Gary Kalpam. With missiles flying through the air over there, why the heck would they even let a passenger plane take flight in that area? It seems to me somebody's goofed a little bit here.
I think you're right. I had the same concerns. Why are commercial aircraft flying in the area when there's threats of attacks on both sides? It should have been a no-fly zone. I'm really baffled by that myself, so I concur with you.
If we can, the other question I had is just regarding Boeing as a whole. You're a pilot right now, or you're formerly a pilot. Given the safety of the 737s in the past and just, how many have been grounded, what are your opinions about the company and what this crash could mean for it going forward?
Well, there's no question that Boeing is having problems with the MCAS system and the 737 MAX. But let's not erase decades of history with Boeing. Boeing has produced a mode of travel, aviation travel, to be the single most safest form of travel globally. And yes, they've run into a rough spot here. They may have been too fast and too much liberalization on the part of Congress and the FAA relative to Boeing's self-certification process. I think with the new CEO on board, who has extreme experience in this area, and with the new head of the FAA, who has a tremendous amount of aviation knowledge and background, Air Force Academy graduate, has flown just about every model of Boeing. I think these two reasonable men will come to conclusions that will put Boeing back on the right foot and save the 737 MAX, and I predict it's going to be a very successful airliner.
Well, thank you, Anthony, so much for joining us.